You're listening to A Seat at the Tech Table, a podcast by Sisters in Tech, hosted by Anna and Esther Kofariji. This podcast highlights the experiences of Black women working and thriving in the tech industry. You'll learn about how they found their paths into tech, and hopefully you'll be inspired to consider whether there's a seat for you at the tech table.
Today's guest is Rizel Scarlett, a Boston-based developer advocate.
Hey, Rizel.
Hey, y'all.
Welcome.
Welcome. Thank you for joining us at the seat at the table. It's awesome to have you here to speak with us. So go straight ahead and tell us about yourself, who you are, where you're from, and what you do.
Yeah, my name is Rizel Scarlett, like you all mentioned. I was born in the Caribbean, particularly Antigua, but I've lived most of my life in the US, in Boston, Massachusetts, and I'm currently a developer advocate at GitHub, and prior to that, I was a software engineer.
Okay, thank you so much for the introduction. We like to take it a little bit further back. We just want to get to know a little bit more about you. So just about your background, how it was growing up, some of your interests and things like that.
Yeah, like I said, growing up, I had come from the Caribbean, so Antigua, and then my parents were born in Guyana, which is in South America. I wouldn't say that I was interested in tech like that. I didn't really know about it as a career path growing up. I did like playing on the computer a lot, so anytime that my homework was done, I was going to be on the computer playing pinball or solitaire because we didn't even have internet. And then once we did get internet, I was always on it. I was on MySpace editing my layout and stuff like that. I didn't know that was HTML and CSS at the time. My parents heavily emphasized education, and I looked at getting all A's as a way to get scholarships and be able to go to college for free. So I was into education as well. But besides that, I hadn't considered tech as a career path. I only started considering it after I started going to college, and I realized I wouldn't be able to afford college. I did one semester, and because I couldn't afford it, and then also because I was undocumented at the time, that meant that I couldn't receive federal financial aid or federal loans. So it was kind of on me to pay out of pocket. So I had to stop going to college. And that's when I reviewed my career choice and stuff like that. I'm like, do I really want to do psychology? Does this make sense for me financially? And I started to Google what jobs make the most money. And that's when tech started coming up, and I was like, oh, cool. You don't have to go to college for very long or at all, it seems like. So that's when I started looking into tech. But before that, it wasn't an option to me growing up. I didn't know it was a thing that people did.
Okay, that's super interesting. And we're going to get into kind of your choices and the route that you took pretty soon. But I'm quite interested in the psychology part. I think psychology is closely related to kind of some tech roles. And I just wonder, what exactly was it about psychology that kind of caught your interest at that point?
Yeah, I think growing up, I was someone who was into literature and stuff like that, but I was also into science. I didn't like math, and I was trying to figure out what could be a good merge of me doing a little bit of scientific research, but also I don't know, something that wouldn't seem too STEM-like for me. I don't know. I was like, I don't want it to include a lot of math. And then on top of that, I think at the time I was excited to figure out how people think. I was like, this seems really cool to learn how people think and why they do things. So that was kind of the decision behind it. But I was also 18. When you're young, you don't know why you're
There's always so much pressure, honestly. There's always stuff to have all the answers at at 18, like we've got so
Yeah.
many years ahead of us to make a decision on what we want to do for the rest of our lives. So yeah, no, totally understandable. It's really interesting just to kind of get your thoughts or just really understand what your interests were. And I think sometimes that also feeds into kind of decisions and your path a bit later. So yes, excited to get into it. But yeah, go ahead, Esther. Your thoughts.
Super cool. So tell us a bit more about that transition. So you started off studying psychology, and then you said it came kind of to a head, and you had to find out. You decided to find out something that would actually make you more money rather than going down psychology. So tell us about that kind of process and that journey to a different route.
Yeah. So like I said, with psychology, I realized, oh man, I'm going to have to do a lot more schooling to actually get a job. Because if you do psychology and get a bachelor's degree, you really can't start working as a psychologist or anything. You'll have to go to grad school. So like I said, I had to drop out of college. And when I was back home, I was like, man, I don't know what to do. So I started Googling like what jobs make a lot of money. And like I said, I came across like different technical roles. And at the time in America, I don't know how it is in the UK, but in America, I was undocumented, and the Obama administration had just started or implemented this new law that allowed like undocumented students to be able to like work and go to school. So I was like, oh my goodness, thank you. Because it was like a few months of like, I don't know what I'm going to do. So luckily that happened. And I was like, okay, great. I'm going to like sign up for a job and I'm going to go to school, but I don't want to go to school for something that will require a lot of years, because the law that Obama implemented called DACA only lasts for 2 years. So every 2 years you have to pay and renew it again. So I was like, I need something that within 2 years I'll be able to start working. So then I signed up at like my local community college, which allowed me to like do a 2-year degree. And at first I was going to study computer science, but I saw that it needed you to know like linear algebra and discrete math. And I was not good at math back then. I think I never got a bad grade in math, but it was not something I enjoyed doing. So I was like, I don't want to do more math. So instead I signed up for a degree in computer information systems because I saw that it had less math, and I was like, it's fine. I can do like IT support or business analysis from that program instead. And after, I don't know if y'all want me to keep going.
No. I mean, this is kind of a really interesting story, and I just I'm just kind of noticing about your journey, or this part of your journey, that a lot of it was kind of influenced by outside factors, and you had to kind of make a lot of decisions based on your circumstances. And I think obviously it's ended up really positively for you, but it's just interesting to me that it's like in a movie when like everything is happening and the main character has to now make a decision on what am I going to do next? Like, how am I going to deal with this?
It was like a movie, like now that you say it like that. In the moment it did not feel great, but I definitely think I'm the type of person that like if I'll try to find a different way to do something. A lot of times I meet people, they're like, oh, I can't do it, so I'm not going to do it. And I'm like, I would like to see if there's like a different option first. Like I like to explore my options before writing it off.
The decisions and like the points that you got to where you have to make decisions, it's interesting. I feel like I went through a similar I went through a similar route in terms of trying to figure out what new career path I wanted to kind of delve into during the recession. And I did exactly the same thing. Well, not exactly the same thing. I was quite interested in graphic design. So I Googled what is the best paid kind of like design job, and I saw UX design. And I felt like that kind of informed my choice to go back and study. So yeah, I think it's important kind of like to kind of take a stop to think about, okay, what is the why in this situation, in terms of what next?
Yeah, I agree. And a lot of times I think it's hard because you want to choose between like what's your passion, but you also want to make a livable wage. So it is good to like take a step back and like kind of strategize what you're gonna do for your life.
Absolutely.
Completely. And it's that kind of that Venn diagram situation, as you say. One circle is kind of the things you're interested in and passionate about. The other circle is things that will kind of make money and things that people are willing to pay for. And it's the intersection of those where most of us find our careers. And it's like, it's not a bad thing.
That's true. Yeah.
So you were speaking about you did computer and information systems, but you did do computer science eventually. So what kind of led you down that path eventually?
Yeah. So when I did computer information systems, I started doing a couple internships. My community college really was emphasizing doing internships. And at first before the internships, I was like drawing blood or doing like other jobs. Like I worked at Planet Fitness, which is a gym, and then I like was a phlebotomist, which was drawing blood. That way I could pay for a college at the same time. But when they told me about internships and that you could get paid for internships and get like work experience for your industry, I was like, oh, that's cool. Let me try it out. So I did a couple internships at like various companies. One was called Federal Home Loan Bank of Boston, and another one was called HubSpot. And through that, I started seeing people who were like coding, and especially at HubSpot, they were talking about APIs and all these other like programming terms. And I was like, what is that? I'm confused. What are y'all doing? So that kind of piqued my interest in deciding like maybe I should learn to code because it looks very cool. It looks like people are creating and automating everything they need to rather than doing a lot of it manually. So I think HubSpot was going to hire me full-time as a IT support technician or a help desk technician after my internship. But I had told them that I think I want to like look into software engineering. And I signed up for a free coding bootcamp called Resilient Coders. So I ended up not being able to do HubSpot and Resilient Coders at the same time. So I had to quit. And through Resilient Coders, that's where I learned like all about coding and software engineering. And like I learned HTML, JavaScript, CSS, React. And that's when I started working as a software engineer. But still, I felt imposter syndrome. And I was like, oh my goodness, I don't know like a lot of the things that people know. So I went to Boston University to study computer science. And I got my bachelor's degree in that.
Wow.
So, basically.
Wow.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it is. No, I'm just like, whoa, that's crazy. Like literally the 360. From the point you were like, okay, I'm not going to do computer science. There's too much maths. And then you're like, oh, this sounds cool. Let me go back and study.
Yeah, I think I got over, like, with the coding bootcamp, I was like, this is perfect because there's still no math in it. But after I, like, got into coding, I realized, oh, my goodness, everybody knows, like, data structures and algorithms that's helping them to pass interviews. And I don't really understand like what they're talking about. So I wanted to go to college to figure all of that out. I will say I probably could have saved some money and just done a data structures and algorithms class. But I did the whole thing. And I think parts of it were useful.
I think one thing I like about your story is it's like you kind of just go for it and figure it out along the way. And I think more of what I'm saying is you try something, you understand what you like about it, you understand where your gaps are, and then you kind of do the work, whether it's studying or whatever, to fill those gaps. And I think that's such a smart approach to your career in general. Try things, figure out what you like, and then fill in the gaps along the way, as opposed to what you guys were talking about earlier, where at the beginning of your career, when you're 18, you're asked to kind of make this big decision. And it should be iterative. That's kind of how our career should be.
I agree. I think there's like so much stress from society. Like, this is what you're going to do for the rest of your life. But I'm like, you have a lot of years to your life. I mean, hopefully, and you can just you can try different things. You can say, okay, cool, and you can gain transferable skills from one path to another. So I agree with you.
Love it. Cool. So obviously you studied a number of different areas, because I think it's interesting. You did psychology, the computer information systems, computer science. You also did the phlebotomy certification. I'd love you to share with us the things that you think are helping you today. So obviously a lot of the computer science stuff is helping you today, but are there things in the other areas that also help you in terms of your job?
Yeah, I think being able to communicate and interface with people has been one of the like biggest helps for me. You know, like from doing phlebotomy into help desk. I think I didn't really know what I was doing in help desk, but what made me a good help desk technician is I was able to like talk with the customers and help calm them down while I figured out how to do things. So a lot of people said they liked that about me, whereas like other help desk technicians, even though they helped them quickly, they were a little bit more harsh. And then I think the same goes for like developer advocacy, because I'm used to interfacing with people and I like to chat with people. It's been helpful for me to like communicate with other like open source maintainers at GitHub, or I guess even I have to do like a couple talks here and there, or podcasts like right now. That's helped too, because like I have strong communication skills, I think.
Yeah, you do. I was just going to kind of pick up on something you mentioned earlier, and feel free just to kind of speak on this, but you mentioned that you kind of took the course just to also deal with, like, I guess, a gap in your knowledge and imposter syndrome. Do you feel like that actually helped deal with your imposter syndrome? Because, like, as you're saying right now, you're really good at communicating. Like, you're on the podcast right now, which is amazing. But like, how much did that actually help in terms of you getting through?
Yeah, so I don't know if I would suggest someone going to college after a coding boot camp. I guess because I was like, after I thought about it, I'm like, this was a little bit of a waste. But I know that one, I never have to question, like, did this person not hire me because I don't have a degree, like a bachelor's degree in computer science? Now I have the confidence to know that's not a problem. And then at least a lot of like the data structures and algorithms and discrete math, and when people are like saying specific terminologies that sound a little scary, I have a little bit more background knowledge, and I'm like, okay, I know what they're talking about. So I think it helped a little bit with the imposter syndrome, but I think I could have done it a different way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. No, that's super interesting. And you mentioned that you feel like it was a bit of a waste. What do you mean by that? Why?
I think a lot of times when you graduate a coding boot camp, you're nervous because you're like, oh man, everyone at this job has a bachelor's degree and they're so much smarter than me. But I noticed that when I did my computer science degree, a lot of those same people a lot of my classmates had the same fear. Granted, a lot of them were career changers, but they were like, oh my goodness, I don't think I'm ready for my job. Maybe I should have done a coding boot camp, because they had a lot more of practical knowledge than the theoretical knowledge. And I was like, what? This is this is weird. Like, you're in a better position in my mind. But yeah, I think in college we didn't really learn how to build like a full stack web application. And stuff like that. We were just like learning a lot of theory. So on both sides, there's pros and cons.
Okay. No, that makes a lot of sense. I think there's always like constant conversations around which one is better, like a degree or boot camp. But no, I think you kind of explained the benefits and the cons to both. So yeah, okay, cool. So you are currently a developer advocate at GitHub.
Yeah.
Just tell us a bit about your current role and what it entails. So what is a developer advocate?
Yeah, I think of it as someone who is helping to empower and educate other engineers about the company's product. So especially if it's like a developer tool or something that developers are going to use often or integrate with, it's kind of a person who helps who helps those developers understand like how they can use that product, how they can integrate it into their application. And it's kind of a person, I think people at first had like marketers, but software engineers don't really feel accepting or trusting of like someone who's just trying to market or sell them something. So they want to hear from someone who has had software development experience or understands the struggles that a software engineer has. So they'll be able to trust that, okay, I should use this product and here's how I can use it best.
Okay, cool. Okay, so why that role? So obviously, you kind of went down the route of studying computer science. How did this role kind of surface to your attention, and why did you decide to go down this route?
Yeah, good question. So I have been working as a software engineer for like almost 3 years. And I will say I didn't always have like the greatest experience, especially within my first 2 years. I think I was experienced a lot of like isolation and like a little bit of discrimination or unconscious bias at least. So that didn't leave a great taste in my mouth, but I liked coding. I thought it was really fun. And I started discovering about developer advocacy when I was using Twitter. I got really deep into like the tech community on Twitter, and I started following people, and I was like, oh, this is so cool. There's people who are like writing blog posts about tech or doing podcasts or doing Twitch streams. And I'm like, I wonder how they could do that, how they have the free time. And I figured out this is their job. They just do that for fun. Yeah. And I'm like, wow, wait a minute. I was sitting in my room alone, not getting to interact with people as much. Like I like coding, but I also like interacting with people. And I think I have a lot of strengths on the interaction side and the writing side. So that's when I started to look into it. I started interviewing at a couple places, and I saw GitHub post about this role on Twitter. It was a junior developer advocate role. So I'm not like a regular developer advocate, I'm junior. And it was kind of like, even if you have no developer advocate experience, you can work here if you have the fundamental skills. And I was like, this is perfect. Because prior to that, I had been asking people, how do you become this? And they're like, oh, you have to be a software engineer for 7 years, or, a lot of stuff that I think they just didn't have the right information about. And I got scared, but the junior developer advocate role, I was like, this is perfect. I don't have 7 years of experience, and I can get more experience along the way and some mentorship as well.
Amazing. Oh my God. I love the way you found the role that was right for you, because like at the beginning of the conversation you spoke about kind of studying psychology and your love for writing, and like this is a nice mixture of both. Yeah. I'm extremely pleased that you found your feet in this. But just to give like listeners a bit more of an understanding of what a developer advocate is, could you just kind of give us a sense of what an average day looks like, and like the people you're talking to, the things that you're doing?
Yeah, I would say it probably varies at every company. I'm not sure what everyone's doing, but I know for me, and my role will probably evolve as I get more senior. But I know for me right now, I'll like code like a demo for something that maybe GitHub just launched. So like if GitHub launches like a new way to use GitHub Actions or something like that, I'll like code a demo, or I'll even just try out a new feature that's outside of GitHub. Like just if people are into React or Next.js, I'll start like coding a little project with that. And then I'll take that project and I'll turn it into a blog post. And then I'll turn that blog post into like a YouTube video, a YouTube short, or a TikTok or something like that.
Wow.
And then I'll turn it into a Twitch stream, and then I'll turn it into like a conference talk. So it's really just about like creating awareness for people who are in tech, and showing them how to use certain products. And then in addition to that, I like help to support like my manager's stream. So he does like every Friday he meets with an open source maintainer and he talks with them about like how they made that project and why and what it does. And I like support by like moderating the Twitch stream or meeting them or like putting out promotional content. What else? I know I'm also helping to support GitHub has this new like diversity and inclusion strategy for open source called All In, and I'm helping to like recruit and research Black maintainers and help us to figure out like how we could better support them and make their experience better, just by like doing interviews or like doing interviews with the Black maintainers and figuring out like what they need and what can make things better for them. So that's kind of what I do. But it varies. Yeah.
I'm familiar with GitHub, but I would love for you to kind of give a beginner's intro to GitHub and kind of the open source landscape to our listeners.
Yeah. Okay. So for those who aren't listening, I guess a simple way to put it is GitHub is a web platform that developers use to store their code, like save their code on like this shared website, and it allows other people to be able to see their code, to be able to collaborate on code. Because without there's other similar platforms, but without that platform, you really just have to like copy and paste your code, and then you won't know like which is the latest version, or you can get confused which is the latest version. So GitHub does a great job at like making sure you're on the correct and most newest version, and that you can collaborate with others. And then what open source is, the simplest way to put it, I think for me, is making your code public to the rest of the world. Some people have like proprietary code that they want to keep a secret, so no one like they're afraid people will copy them or something like that. But the benefits of open source is that like any developer can hop in and help you to improve your product. They can hop in, they can edit the code, they can and you can review it and say, yeah, I want this to be added to my code base. So that's basically it.
Yeah. I think because I spent a little bit of time working as a developer, I think that was one of the just most interesting and, I don't know, for want of a better term, heartwarming things about kind of the tech community is this whole sense of sharing is what it really is, and being open to other people. So I really love that about kind of open source and GitHub. And GitHub is like, I think you're underselling it. It's like magic, really, when you're working in a developer team, because it does so much and helps with so much. So yeah, it's a great tool.
Yeah.
I just wanted to pick on something you said a bit earlier, actually. You talked about how when you were first learning about the role of the developer advocate, people were saying to you like, oh, you need years of experience before you can become a developer advocate, and things like that. And I think it's just one of the things I've noticed about the tech space is every hard and fast rule can be broken in some way, as in there's always either a back door or a side door or another way to achieve a goal. And I think also on top of that, just your experience of you like coding, but you also like kind of engaging with people, as you said, and now you have a role that has both. Like in most jobs, you'd stay like slightly unfulfilled and feeling like there's a missing piece, but like you found a job that gives you these two seemingly disparate things all in one. So yeah, that's super cool.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'm so excited. Like it's very fulfilling to me because I'm like, this is everything I imagined in a job.
Wow. Love that. I love it.
Okay, so another question we love to ask is, obviously, I'm sure you're day job keeps you very busy, and I'm sure it probably leaks in because, like you said, you're doing Twitch streams, you're doing kind of social media content and things like that. What would you say you do for balance? What's your kind of relaxation, your chilling out, your hobby, if I can call it that?
Yeah. So I've been trying to get back into my hobbies. I don't have many right now, but mostly I like watch a lot of TV. Like a lot of Netflix.
Same, sis.
After a lot of work, I just want my brain to go on autopilot. So I'll watch Netflix with my husband, or he watches a lot of anime. So I've been watching it too and starting to get into it. What else? I like going to the gym, so I'll do that too. But I don't have a lot of hobbies right now. I like to be on Twitter too, a lot. But that's about it.
And I guess there's one more thing. Actually, there's a couple more things. I want to dig into some of your kind of side things. Tell us a bit about Black Girl Bites.
Oh, Black Girl. Oh, do you mean G Code? Black Girl Bites is just my GitHub handle. And my manager had told me that like it's easier for people to find you when you have like the same handle on everything. So that's also my Twitter name and like my everything name. But it doesn't have any meaning. I was just like, it sounds cute, so I'm gonna do it. But I do G Code House on the side, which I think I talked to you about a little bit when we first met. And it's like a nonprofit organization that helps to introduce women of color and non-binary people of color to like tech and coding.
Cool. Yeah. So that's cool. This sounds very interesting. I'm sure people want to hear about it as well.
Yeah, but basically, she noticed there's a lot of gentrification in the area, and she also noticed that women of color ages like 18 through like 30 aren't getting exposed to tech and coding as much. And so she thought like, oh my gosh, she'll buy this really huge house in the Roxbury area. And her plan was to allow them to live there, learn to code. And once they like get a job and land on their feet, they will like get into a new, like their own house and all that. And she'll just continue doing cohorts that way. I thought the idea was cool because I have dealt with like homelessness and housing insecurity in the past. So I was like, this could be a great experience for people who have dealt with that, but want to get into coding. And right now the house is still being renovated. It's quite expensive to like fully renovate the whole thing. So what we've been doing is just holding online courses for 15 women of color. And we're like on our fourth cohort, or we're going to start our fourth cohort this January. It's been really fun and exciting, just introducing people to like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and learning that people are starting to get roles. I know one of the graduates works at Intuit. I can't say it right, but they work there. So yeah, it's a rewarding experience to introduce more women of color to code and to tech, and like helping to diversify the industry.
That is amazing. Oh my gosh, I love it. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's cool.
Cool. Okay, so we're heading toward the end. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm assuming people can find you as Black Girl Bites everywhere, but tell us where you want people to go after this episode to find out more about you.
Yeah. Find me at Black Girl Bites on Twitter. Definitely follow me. I'm trying to get to 3,000 followers before the end of the year.
Yeah, we can let's make this happen.
And also follow me on Hashnode and Dev.2 at the same handle. I blog a lot, and I think that's a great place to find me. You can also follow me on YouTube at that same handle. I'm still coming out with more content. It's not very active on there, but I'm getting there for 2022. So those are the places.
Yes.
I love it.
Thank you so much.
for joining us. Yeah, really appreciate your time. Really love your story, and I'm so excited for everyone else to hear this. It's been so good speaking with you, and yeah, we'll see you on the internet.
Thank you so much for inviting me. Bye.
Thanks for joining us today and listening to this episode of A Seat at the Tech Table. You can connect with us on our social media platforms. Just search @SistersInTech on Twitter and Instagram, and check out our website www.sistersin.tech to see what we've got going on. Don't forget to leave us a review on iTunes, and we'll bring you the next episode soon.